Every woman feared his passion. Until one saw the man behind the mystery. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. Tonight, the city glows under a thin winter haze, but inside the 36th floor of the Carter Tower, the air feels colder than the January wind. He is there, our Elias Ward, the man people whisper about in elevators, the man whose ambition burns bright enough to scare off anyone who comes too close. Every woman feared his passion, not because he was cruel, but because he felt everything too intensely, moved too quickly, lived too fiercely. And tonight, as he stands alone in the private gym long after midnight, it shows. Sweat drips down his jawline, his chest rises and falls like he is fighting invisible battles, and the punching bag swings wildly from the force of his blows. Under the white LED lights, the shadows clinging to him look almost alive. People think they know him. They think he is volatile, unhinged, obsessed with control. They think his fiery intensity is a choice. They have no idea it is a shield. They have no idea what it costs him to keep breathing through the chaos inside his own head. He wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, trying to steady himself, but that familiar tightness claws up his throat again. His vision blurs at the edges. His body trembles, not from exhaustion, but from a panic attack he refuses to name. The world sees a powerful billionaire. But right now, he feels like a child again, trapped in a house where raised voices meant danger, where footsteps in the hallway made him hide under the bed, where passion meant fear, and where love had always been something sharp enough to hurt. He grips the metal railing beside him until his knuckles turn white. His jaw locks. His breath stutters. He whispers to himself a lie he has repeated for years, "I'm fine. I'm in control." But the room keeps spinning, and control slips through his fingers like sand. And then, his chest constricts. Hard. He bends forward, one hand pressed to his sternum, the other clutching the cold floor as if it could anchor him. No one is here to see this. No one ever sees Elias like this. He made sure of it. He built walls so high no one could climb them. And yet, tonight, without knowing it, he is only minutes away from meeting the one woman who will walk straight through those walls like they were never there at all, the woman who will see the truth behind the mystery, the wound behind the fire, the man behind the passion the world fears. And this is where everything begins. The night should have ended with Elias collapsing on the cold gym floor, but he forces himself upright, refusing to let the darkness win. He grips the edge of the weight bench, trying to steady his breathing, counting in silent beats the way he taught himself years ago. For seconds in. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. It barely works tonight. His pulse is still racing when he steps out of the gym and into the hallway that leads to the private medical wing of Carter Tower, a facility that his board praises as a symbol of his commitment to employee health, but that he built for reasons no one knows. He pauses near the frosted glass door, more out of instinct than intention. And that is when he hears a soft voice from inside. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 6. Good job, you are doing great. He should keep walking. He does not need help. He does not need anyone. But something in that calm, steady tone makes him stop. He steps closer. Through the glass he sees her. A woman he has never seen before, young but composed, guiding a middle-aged accountant through a simple anxiety exercise. She moves with quiet confidence, her voice warm but professional, her hand hovering just close enough to reassure without overwhelming. The badge clipped to her blouse reads as Dr. Mara Lynn, Behavioral Health Specialist. New. Definitely new. And then she looks up. Their eyes meet through the frosted pane. For a moment Elias forgets to breathe. Not because of attraction, but because she does not look away in fear like others usually do. Instead, Her gaze lands on him with the kind of steady recognition that feels uncomfortably close to being seen. She steps out into the hallway after finishing with her patient. "Mr. Ward," she asks gently, as if calling his name is not a threat. "Are you all right?" His first instinct is always the same: deny everything. "I am fine." Her head tilts slightly, reading him too easily. "Your breathing is elevated. Your shoulders are tense. And your hands are shaking." He hates how she notices. He hates even more how she is right. "It is nothing," he mutters. "Just a workout." "A workout does not cause that kind of tremor," she says softly. She is not challenging him. She is not pitying him. She is simply stating a fact, and somehow that makes it worse. He stiffens. "I do not need analysis." She gives a small, calm nod. "Then I will not offer any. But if you ever need someone to help you breathe through the hard moments, I am here." She hands him a small laminated card. It is simple, nothing extraordinary, a breathing technique chart printed in soft blue ink. But when her fingers brush his, something shifts inside him. Not romantic. Not dramatic. Just human. Something he has not felt in a very long time. He pulls his hand back quickly, almost too quickly. "Thank you," he says, though the words strain against his throat like they are unused to forming. She smiles, a quiet, sincere curve of her lips. "Take care of yourself tonight, Mr. Ward." When she walks away, her steps echo softly down the hall, and something about the sound stays with him, like a metronome steadying the chaos in his chest. Elias stands frozen, staring at the card she gave him. For boxes. For breathing counts. For gentle reminders that control is not power, and power is not safety. He hates how much he needs it. He hates how much her voice lingers in his head. But he slips the card into his pocket anyway. When he heads toward the elevator, the city lights bleeding through the glass walls of the tower feel different. Too bright. Too sharp. Too honest. And he has no idea that this small, quiet encounter will be the first thread that unravels the life he has kept tightly stitched for years. He only knows one thing as the elevator. Doors close. For the first time in a long time, someone saw through the mystery, and he did not run. The next morning arrives with a kind of pale grey light that makes the entire city feel tired. Elias stands at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse, a steaming mug of black coffee in his hand, staring out at the skyline as if the buildings themselves might offer answers. He barely slept, not because of work, but because of the woman whose calm voice kept replaying in his mind. Dr. Mara Lynn. Behavioral health specialist. New. Steady. Unfazed by him in a way that felt almost impossible. He does not understand why it bothers him, why her voice lingers, why that small laminated card in his pocket feels heavier than steel. He sets the mug down and rubs his eyes, trying to force the thoughts away. But the truth is undeniable. Last night, she saw him. Not the CEO. Not the mystery. Not the man with the fierce reputation. She saw the tremor in his hands, the panic in his breath, the exhaustion behind his eyes, and she did not recoil like everyone else always had. And that unsettles him more than the panic attack itself. He showers, dresses in the kind of perfectly tailored suit that serves as armor, and steps into the private elevator that takes him directly to the executive floor. As soon as he exits, 2 assistants rush toward him with tablets and folders. Meetings. Reports. A board call. It all blends together, noise drowning out noise, but for once the chaos does not fully swallow him. Because there is something else beneath it. A memory of a soft voice saying, "If you ever need someone to help you breathe through the hard moments, I am here." He tries to bury it, but it follows him like a shadow. Hours pass. Tension builds. His jaw aches from clenching. By noon, the pressure in his chest returns, not as sharp as last night but enough to make him shift uncomfortably in his chair. He excuses himself from a meeting, ignoring the startled looks from the directors, and walks swiftly toward the medical wing. He tells himself he is only checking on the facilities, ensuring everything is operating well. It is the excuse he clings to as he steps through the glass doors. But the moment he sees her, he knows the truth is not nearly that simple. Mara is standing near a desk, organizing a set of patient files, her posture relaxed, her focus steady. She looks up just as he enters, and her expression softens. "Mr. Ward," she says, her tone warm but not overly familiar. "Back so soon?" He clears his throat, fighting the instinct to turn around and leave. "I had a free moment," he says, though they both know that is not something Elias Ward ever has. She studies him quietly, and he hates that he can feel her reading him again, noticing the tension in his shoulders, the way he keeps one hand in his pocket like he is bracing himself. "How is your breathing today?" she asks, matter-of-fact but gentle. He considers lying. It would be easy. Expected. But something about her gaze, steady, patient, not pushing, makes the truth slip out before he can stop it. "It has been worse." She nods once, as if this is the most normal admission in the world. "Would you like to try something that might help?" The question hangs between them. It is not an order. It is not a diagnosis. It is an invitation, and that makes it harder to refuse. After a long pause, he gives a single, small nod. She gestures toward a quiet corner of the room where a small seating area has been arranged with soft lighting and a simple wooden chair. "Please sit," she instructs gently. He does, feeling strangely exposed as he removes his jacket and rests his hands on his knees. Mara sits across from him, not too close, not too far, just enough for him to feel her presence without pressure. "Place your feet flat on the floor," she says. "Now lift your shoulders as you inhale." He follows her instructions carefully, almost mechanically at first. "Good," she murmurs. "Now let them fall as you exhale." Again. Her voice creates a rhythm, a tether that pulls him back from the edge. Slowly, the tightness in his chest eases. His hands stop shaking. His heartbeat returns to something closer to normal. When he finally opens his eyes, he realizes she has been watching him with an expression that is not pity, not curiosity, but something far rarer, understanding. "Better?" she asks quietly. He nods. "Yes." She smiles, small and warm. "You can come back anytime, Elias." The sound of his name on her lips hits him harder than any panic attack. And for the first time in years, he lets himself breathe without fear of what happens next. For the next few days, Elias finds himself walking through his routines with a strange sense of awareness, as if some part of him has been knocked slightly off its axis. He tells himself it is nothing. He tells himself the encounter with Dr. Mara Lynn was a momentary lapse in his usually impenetrable composure. But the human mind does not lie the way the mouth does. Each morning when he knots his tie, he remembers the steady cadence of her voice. Each time his chest tightens during a tense meeting, he feels the laminated breathing card press lightly against the inside of his pocket, a reminder of the one person who looked at him without fear. He hates how much comfort that brings him. On the third afternoon, after a grueling discussion with investors, the kind that leaves a lingering ache between his temples, he steps into the executive hallway and feels that familiar pull toward the medical wing. He hesitates. He has gone twice already this week. People might talk. People might notice. But then another wave of tension climbs his spine, and the thought of facing the rest of his schedule without at least attempting to breathe again makes his hands curl into fists. He goes. His footsteps echo more quietly than usual, like even the building itself senses his reluctance. When he enters the medical wing, he sees her immediately. Mara is sitting at a small table, reviewing charts while sipping from a travel mug that smells faintly of mint and cocoa. The moment she looks up, something gentle flickers across her expression. "You came back," she says, not surprised but simply acknowledging it as fact. He clears his throat. "I had a break in my schedule." She smiles, knowing that for a man like him, breaks do not simply appear. She motions to the small chair across from her. "Sit if you want to. You look like you could use a moment." He does not argue. He lowers himself onto the chair, feeling the weight of tension settle across his shoulders like a soaked cloak. Mara sets the charts aside and leans forward slightly. Tell me, what set off your nerves today? Elias takes a long breath. Investors. They doubt everything. They question every decision. They want me to push harder, grow faster, deliver more. Mara nods slowly. And you feel responsible for all of it? I am responsible, he says, the words coming out sharper than intended. If I stop, even for a second, everything falls apart. Then let me ask something, she replies gently. When you were a child, did life fall apart when you stopped trying to keep it together? The question hits him like a physical blow. Not dramatic, not loud, but devastating in its accuracy. His jaw tightens as memories surface, the slammed doors, the shouting, the fear that sat like a stone in his stomach every night. He swallows hard. Yes, he admits quietly. Everything did. Mara's voice softens even more. Elias, you are not that child anymore. You do not have to hold the entire world together with your bare hands. He looks away, because hearing that truth is harder than living the lie. She reaches for something on the table and slides it across to him. It is a small journal, bound in dark leather, the kind of item that feels personal the moment you touch it. For you, she says. A grounding journal. Not for work. Not for planning. For you alone. When the pressure builds, write one truthful sentence. Just one. No expectations. He hesitates before picking it up. The leather is cool and smooth against his skin. I do not write, he mutters. Maybe you do not. But maybe you need to. He does not answer. He is not sure he can. As he stands up, preparing to return to his responsibilities, she walks him to the doorway. Elias, she says softly, your panic is not weakness. It is your body asking for help after being ignored for too long. He meets her eyes. For a moment, the world feels less sharp, less demanding. Thank you, Dr. Lin. Mara, she corrects, offering the smallest smile. Just Mara is fine. When he steps back into the hallway, the journal tucked under his arm, he knows without understanding why that something has shifted again. Not broken. Not healed. But moved. And sometimes, that is how healing begins, with one person brave enough to see the fracture beneath the fire. That night, long after the building has emptied and the city has softened into a quieter hum, Elias sits alone in his penthouse office with the small leather journal resting on the desk in front of him. He turns it over in his hands again and again, feeling the weight of it, the invitation it carries. One truthful sentence, she had said. Just one. But truth has never come easily to him, not even in silence. He opens the journal anyway, hesitating before pressing the pen to the first page. His hand trembles, not from panic this time but from something far more vulnerable. He writes 4 words. I am not okay. The moment the ink dries, a strange warmth spreads through his chest, subtle but real, like releasing breath he did not know he was holding. He almost closes the journal, but something makes him pause. He adds another line beneath it. I do not want to be alone in this anymore. It is the closest thing to a confession he has allowed himself in years. He snaps the journal shut before he can think too hard about it and leans back in his chair, exhausted by the simple act of telling himself the truth. The next morning arrives with the crisp bite of early February air. Elias forces himself through his usual routine, but something about the world feels slightly less heavy. At least until noon, when an unexpected emergency meeting with the board drags him into a conference room filled with tension thick enough to taste. Reports. Loss projections. Concerns about his leadership stability. Someone mentions rumors about his health. Someone else hints that his intensity is becoming problematic for the company image. Elias feels the panic rise quickly this time, a fast surge like lightning under his skin. His throat tightens. His pulse spikes. The room begins to tilt. He grips the edge of the table, trying to anchor himself, but the voices keep coming, overlapping, sharp, demanding. Mr. Ward, are you listening? We need answers. The shareholders want reassurance. The walls close in. His breath stutters. He stands abruptly, ignoring the startled glances. Excuse me, he says through clenched teeth, and he walks out before anyone can stop him. His steps are fast, uneven, echoing down the hallway as he heads instinctively for the only place that has felt safe in weeks. When he bursts through the doors of the medical wing, Mara is alone, sorting supplies on a metal cart. She looks up instantly, her expression shifting the moment she sees his face. Elias, she says, calm but alert, what is happening? He tries to speak, but the words collapse into shallow breaths. He braces a hand against the wall, fighting the panic that claws up his chest. Mara crosses the room quickly, placing herself in front of him without hesitation. Look at me, she says, her voice steady and low. You are safe. You are right here. Nothing is going to hurt you. He squeezes his eyes shut, jaw trembling as he tries to inhale. She reaches out, not grabbing him, just resting a light hand near his wrist, her presence firm but gentle. Follow my voice, she murmurs. In for 4. He breathes in, shaky but trying. Hold for 4. He holds. Exhale for 6. The breath leaves him slowly, painfully, but he manages it. She continues the cadence, her tone and anchor pulling him back from the breaking point. Little by little, the rushing in his ears quiets. The tremor in his hand softens. His heartbeat steadies. When his eyes finally open, she is still there, still calm, still watching him with that same steady understanding. You did not have to come here alone, she says softly. For a moment, he cannot speak. He feels exposed, raw in a way that terrifies him, but he forces the words out anyway. I did not know where else to go. Her expression warms, gentle and sincere. Then come here, she says. Whenever you need. You do not have to pretend with me. Something shifts inside him again, deeper this time, as if a crack has opened in the armor he has worn for years. He exhales slowly, grounding himself in the truth he had written the night before. I am trying, he whispers. I know, she replies, resting her hand lightly over his for a brief moment of connection. And that is enough for today. As he sits there with her voice steadying the last remnants of panic, Elias realizes something he has not allowed himself to feel in a very long time. He is not alone. Not tonight. And maybe, if he is brave enough, not ever again. The days that follow move with a rhythm Elias has never known before, a rhythm built not on pressure or deadlines but on the quiet steadiness that seems to follow him. Each time he leaves the medical wing. He does not admit it to anyone, not even to himself in full, but something about Mara's presence has begun to settle into his routines like a soft undertow. He finds himself reaching for the leather journal before bed, writing single sentences that feel like small fractures in a long frozen surface. I felt seen today. I was not afraid to breathe. Someone stayed. He never writes her name, not because he is hiding it, but because the meaning of it has become too large to fit neatly into ink. Each morning, he walks into the tower carrying the same responsibilities, but the panic does not grip him quite as quickly. His staff notices the difference. His assistant comments that he seems less on fire. A board member asks if he started meditating. Elias does not answer. He does not owe them that truth. Late one evening, after a particularly intense day of negotiations, Elias finds himself once again in the medical wing doorway, watching Mara tidy up after her final appointment. The lights are dimmer this late at night, casting a soft glow on the room that makes the moment feel almost unreal. She looks up and gives a familiar gentle smile. Rough day, she asks. You could say that. Then come sit. You do not need to ask. He does. And once again, what surprises him most is how natural it feels, how the simple act of sitting across from her eases tension he has carried for years. She guides him through breathing exercises, but tonight she adds something new. Close your eyes, she says softly. You do not have to talk, just listen. He obeys. Her voice lowers, calm and even, as she begins a grounding technique he has never heard before. Feel your body in the chair. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor. Notice one thing you can hear. He focuses on the faint hum of the ventilation system. Notice one thing you can touch. His fingers brush the stitched leather of the journal he keeps in his pocket. Notice one thing you can smell. He inhales the faint fragrance of her mint and cocoa drink that seems to follow her everywhere. Her voice continues, guiding him out of the whirlwind in his head and back into a world that feels safe in ways he cannot fully explain. When he finally opens his eyes, the panic has dissolved entirely. Better, she asks. He nods slowly. You have no idea. She studies him for a moment, then asks, Elias, has anyone ever taught you how to slow down before? He gives a hollow laugh. No. Slowing down was never an option. Not when I was young. Not when I built this company. Not ever. She leans back slightly, her tone thoughtful. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who never learned how to rest because resting never felt safe. The sentence lands somewhere deep inside him, deeper than he expects, deep enough to bring heat behind his eyes that he quickly blinks away. She notices, of course, but she does not call attention to it. She never pushes, never demands, never pries. She simply holds space for him, the way no one ever has. For a while they sit in quiet, the room filled with a peace he has not felt in decades. Then she speaks again, her voice low and gentle. Elias, I need to ask something important. He stiffens slightly, bracing himself. What is it? Has anyone ever taught you how to recognize the signs before your panic reaches the breaking point? He shakes his head. No, then I will teach you, she says simply. If you want me to. The offer is not just professional. He can hear it. Something in her tone carries a sincerity that goes beyond duty, an honesty that brushes against the edges of something he cannot name yet. He inhales slowly, choosing his words with care. I want that, he says. I want to learn. Her smile is small but filled with something warm enough to thaw the cold places inside him. Good, she replies. We will start tomorrow. As he stands to leave, she gently places her hand on his arm, not to hold him back, but as a simple, steady touch. You are doing better than you think, she tells him. Do not forget that. The contact lasts only a second, but for Elias it feels like the ground shifting under his feet, a moment that tells him the truth he has been trying not to see. Healing is not happening in abstract exercises or controlled breathing. It is happening because of her. Because she sees him. Because she stays. And as he walks out of the medical wing into the quiet halls of Carter Tower, he realizes something that makes his breath hitch softly in his chest. He is not just learning how to breathe. He is learning how to feel again. Over the next week, something shifts between Elias and Mara in a way that neither of them acknowledges out loud, but both of them feel with unmistakable clarity. Their sessions become a quiet ritual, woven seamlessly into the rhythm of Elias's demanding days. Sometimes he arrives tense and exhausted, and she guides him through breathing until his heartbeat settles. Other times he simply sits across from her, speaking truths he has never said aloud. She listens with patience that feels almost revolutionary to him. But healing is not a straight line. And the moment things begin to feel safe is often the moment the deepest wounds rise to the surface. It happens late on a Thursday evening. The city outside is wrapped in a thin fog, and most of the Carter Tower staff has already gone home. Elias has just finished a tense call with international partners when he feels his chest tighten, a slow creeping pressure that warns him something inside is unraveling. Without thinking, he heads straight to the medical wing. Mara is there, reviewing notes at her desk. She looks up the moment she senses him in the doorway. Elias, she says gently, what is going on? He steps inside but does not sit. His jaw is clenched, his hands balled into fists at his sides. I do not know how to handle this, he says, breath shallow. Everything feels like it is slipping. Mara stands, approaching him with careful steps. What happened? Someone questioned my stability, he says, voice cracking with a rawness he cannot hide. A person on the board. They suggested I may not be fit to lead if I have episodes. They said I am too volatile. Too intense. Too unpredictable. Mara's expression softens with understanding. Elias, their words do not define you. But they could cost me everything, he snaps, not at her but at the fear pressing against his ribs. You do not understand what losing control means in my position. She nods slowly. You are right. I do not understand your exact position. But I understand what fear of losing control can do to someone. And I know it is not weakness. It is a response to old pain. His eyes flash, the old defensiveness rising. I am not broken. Her voice stays calm. I never said you were. I have built everything I have by being strong, he says, pacing now, breathing tight. By not needing anyone. By staying in control. If I let myself fall apart, even once, people will tear everything from me. Mara watches him carefully, her tone steady. Elias, asking for help is not falling apart. It feels like it, he fires back. Every time I walk into this room, it feels like admitting I cannot handle my own life. The words echo in the room, sharp and heavy. Mara steps closer. And yet you keep coming, she says softly. That is not weakness. That is courage. But courage is not what Elias feels. He feels exposed, cornered by emotions he cannot outrun. Something inside him snaps. You do not know anything about me, he says, voice rising with the tremor of panic. You see pieces, fragments. You think you can fix me with breathing exercises and grounding. But you have no idea what you are dealing with. Mara inhales slowly, her eyes steady on him. Then help me understand. I cannot, he says, shaking his head. I do not want you to see all of it. She steps closer, gently placing a hand over her heart. Elias, I am not afraid of you. But that is the line he cannot cross. That sentence, so simple, so kind, hits something deep and volatile inside him. He steps backward, retreating from her touch. You should be, he says, voice low and cracked. Everyone else is. The silence between them deepens, heavy with hurt. Mara's face softens, but not with pity, only sadness. I am not them, she whispers. I am here because you matter. Elias shakes his head again, the panic twisting into self-protection. I cannot do this, he mutters. I cannot have you looking at me like I am, salvageable. Her eyes glisten with something almost like grief. Elias, please, no, he cuts in, his voice sharp, desperate. I cannot be what you want me to be. I cannot be honest with you anymore. I should not have been in the first place. And then he does the one thing he has not done since the day he first walked into her office. He leaves. Fast. Without breathing. Without looking back. Mara stands in the quiet doorway long after he is gone, the soft hum of the building the only sound around her. And in the echo of his departure, one truth becomes painfully clear. Healing is never just about progress. It is about the moment everything breaks open. And tonight, Elias has never felt more broken. The night after Elias storms out feels colder than any winter he has ever lived through. He goes home, shuts off every light, and sits alone in the silence of his penthouse with nothing but the sound of his own unsteady breathing. The city below glows with life, but he feels miles away from all of it. He tells himself that distancing from Mara was the right choice, that pushing her away will keep her safe from the intensity he has spent years trying to cage. But the truth sits heavy in his chest, pressing against his ribs like a bruise. He cannot outrun the memory of her voice saying, I am not afraid of you, or the look in her eyes when he told her she should be. He barely sleeps. When morning comes, the exhaustion feels physical, like lead in his limbs. His staff notices immediately. His assistant whispers to a colleague that he looks pale. A board member asks if he is ill. He brushes them all off, burying himself in meetings until his mind goes numb. But numbness never lasts for him. By mid-afternoon, dread begins to creep up his spine as a familiar tightness curls around his lungs. He tries to breathe through it, but the panic builds faster than he can control. He grips the edge of his desk, swallowing hard as heat prickles beneath his skin. His throat tightens. His fingers tremble. The room tilts. He knows exactly what is happening, but he refuses to name it. Not here. Not in front of anyone. He shuts his office door, but that only makes the pressure worse. The walls feel too close, the windows too bright, the air too thin. His heartbeat pounds in his ears, drowning out every logical thought. He whispers, not now, please not now, but the panic does not listen. He fumbles in his pocket, searching for the breathing card Mara gave him, but his hands shake too badly to hold it. For a moment he stands frozen, caught between pride and survival. And then, without thinking, without planning, his feet move on their own. He leaves his office and walks quickly toward the elevators, head down, chest tight, breath short and uneven. He tells himself he is just getting air. He tells himself he will not go to her. But when the elevator doors open, his body chooses for him. The medical wing is quiet when he arrives, the lights dimmed for the late afternoon. He steps inside, breathing like he has run a mile, barely keeping himself upright. Mara is not at her desk. The chair is empty. For a moment, panic spikes so sharply he thinks his vision will go black. He braces a hand against the wall, trying to hold on. Then he hears footsteps, quick and light, coming from the small exam room to the left. Mara steps out, holding a clipboard, but the moment she sees him she drops it. Elias, she says, her voice instantly shifting into calm steadiness, come here. Right here. He cannot speak. He can barely inhale. His whole body trembles as she approaches him. She stops just close enough for him to feel her presence, but not touching him yet, giving him space to choose. Look at me, she says softly. You are safe. He tries, but his eyes blur. The panic claws deeper, tightening his chest until he feels he might collapse. She lifts her hand slowly, deliberately, letting him see the gesture before she touches him. She presses her fingertips lightly to his wrist. I am right here, she murmurs. Follow my voice. She begins the cadence he knows by heart now, the one that has become his lifeline. In for 4. He inhales, shaky but willing. Hold for 4. He holds, barely. Exhale for 6. The breath leaves him in a trembling rush. Again, she says, grounding him with every word. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. His breathing steadies. His heart rate softens. The room sharpens back into focus. When he finally lifts his gaze, she is watching him with a tenderness he does not feel he deserves. He whispers, I should not have come. You came because you needed help, she replies gently. And that is what this room is for. He shakes his head, shame burning through him. I hurt you. You were hurting, she counters. There is a difference. His breath catches. He looks away, jaw tight, his voice barely audible. I did not want you to see the worst of me. Mara steps a little closer, her tone soft but unwavering. Elias, healing does not happen by only showing the good parts. Healing happens when someone stays for the hard parts. Her words break something open inside him, something he has tried to hold together for far too long. He finally meets her eyes, raw and stripped of every defense. And you stayed, he says, voice trembling. Mara nods once, slow and sincere. I will stay as long as you let me. Those are the words he did not know he needed. The words he has been running from. The words that steady his breath more than any exercise ever could. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the hum of the medical wing and the warmth of the one person who has never turned away from him, Elias realizes the truth he has fought for weeks. He is not afraid of her. He is afraid of needing her. And it is already too late. He already does. For the first time since he was a boy, Elias allows himself to breathe without fighting the sensation. He stands in the quiet of the medical wing, the fading panic replaced by something softer, heavier, but undeniably real. Mara stays near him, not touching now, just offering the steady presence that has become his anchor. The silence that settles between them is not tense or uncomfortable, it is honest, a space where neither of them needs to pretend. After a long moment, she speaks softly. Elias, what you felt today, it was not a failure. It was your body asking for help. He exhales slowly. Help is not something I ever learned how to ask for. You are learning now, she says gently. He meets her eyes, the truth pressing at the edges of his voice. I thought pushing you away would protect you from the parts of me that are complicated. Mara's expression warms, not with pity, but with a kind of quiet certainty. Complicated does not scare me. Pain does not scare me. What scares me is you carrying it alone. The words settle deep inside him, deeper than he expected. He swallows hard. I do not want to carry it alone anymore. Mara steps closer, close enough that he can feel the calm in her breath. Then let me help you carry it. He does not move, but something in his posture changes. For the first time, he is not bracing himself. He is letting himself be seen. Truly seen. Days later, something else begins to shift around him. His staff notices the change, not dramatic, but unmistakable. He walks into meetings a little more grounded. His voice carries less sharpness. His decisions come with clarity, not urgency. Even the board members who once questioned his stability now watch him with careful curiosity, sensing a subtle transformation they cannot quite explain. But the biggest change happens quietly, in the moments between responsibilities. In the late afternoons, he goes to the medical wing not out of desperation, but by choice. Sometimes Mara guides him through breathing exercises. Other times they simply talk. Not about work, not about panic, but about small pieces of life neither of them realized they had been missing. She tells him about the reason she entered behavioral health, about the people she wants to help, about the peace she hopes to bring to those who live in constant storms. He listens with an attention he rarely gives anyone, feeling the world slow down in a way that feels almost sacred. And slowly, the edges of his life begin to soften. One evening, after a long session, Mara closes her notebook and looks at him with a thoughtful expression. Elias, you have made incredible progress, she says. But there is one more thing you need to do. He straightens, a flicker of apprehension crossing his face. What is that? Forgive yourself, she says simply. Everything you survived. Everything you blamed yourself for. Everything you thought made you unworthy of being helped. The sentence hits him harder than any panic attack, but this time he does not retreat. He takes a deep breath, steady and sure. I am trying, he whispers. She nods. Trying counts. He looks down at the leather journal he now carries openly instead of hiding in his pocket. Flipping it open, he shows her the first page he ever wrote. I am not okay, it reads. Beneath it, another line, I do not want to be alone in this anymore. Mara smiles softly. You are not alone. He closes the journal and meets her gaze, something new and steady in his eyes. I know. The next morning, he calls a company-wide meeting in the main auditorium, something he has never done before. The room fills with employees buzzing with curiosity. When he steps onto the stage, he does not hide behind charisma or cold authority. He stands tall, shoulders relaxed, breathing calm. For years, he begins, I believed that strength meant carrying everything alone. I believed that asking for help was weakness. I was wrong. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. He continues. Real strength is admitting when you need support. Real leadership is showing your humanity. And real progress comes from acknowledging the truth instead of hiding it. His voice does not shake once. He glances toward the side of the stage, where Mara stands just out of sight, watching with quiet pride. This company, Elias says, will now lead with compassion. Not pressure. Not fear. Compassion. The room erupts in applause. Not polite applause. Genuine applause. Applause that tells him he has not lost anything. He has gained something entirely new. Later, in the privacy of the medical wing, he approaches Mara with a calmness he has earned the hard way. "You helped me save myself," he says quietly. "You saved yourself," she corrects, stepping closer. "I just showed you where the door was." He reaches into his pocket and places something in her hand. It is the laminated breathing card she gave him on the first night. The edges are worn. The ink slightly faded. But it is intact, because he kept it. Every day. "This saved me more times than I can count," he says. "But I do not need it anymore. I have something stronger now." Mara's breath catches. "What is that?" He looks into her eyes with a gentleness he once believed himself incapable of. "Someone who sees me." She closes her fingers around the card, her eyes softening with emotion. "And someone who stays," she adds. Elias nods, the most peaceful expression he has worn in years settling across his face. "Yes," he says. "Someone who stays." And for the first time in his life, Elias Ward steps forward not as the man the world feared, but as the man who finally learned that love, in its purest form, is the quiet space where healing and truth meet. And he is no longer afraid.